Okay, welcome. Welcome to the Audit Committee meeting, our public session tonight. We're going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to start by being able to do our land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, North America. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. I'm looking for any potential declarations of conflict of interest in tonight's agenda. Not seeing any. We do have the agenda as sent out. I am looking to be able to have approval of the agenda as distributed. Do I have a mover of that? Trustee Stone, seconder? David? Or are you suggesting there's something else to go on the agenda, David? Because I don't think you can second a motion. So.
As much as I always want to vote during these meetings, Mr. Chair, I know I'm not.
You're throwing me there a little bit, David.
I apologize. Before you approve the agenda, I just want to confirm that everybody received the updated document to include into the closed session meeting this evening that Kristen sent out earlier today.
I did, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
So as amended, sorry. Thank you.
So we have a motion from Linda Stone to be able to approve the agenda. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Olafunke, could I ask you to second that? Thank you. Are there any opposed? Seeing none. We do have regrets tonight from Carla Mansfield. She had a previous appointment that she had to attend to tonight and will not be able to join us. And we certainly wish her well. So we do have the minutes from September the 29th of the public meetings. Are there any amendments, errors, or omissions for those minutes as distributed? I'm not seeing any. Could I get a motion to approve those minutes? Trustee Crawford, could I ask you to move those?
You may.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder? Trustee Stone, any objections? Not seeing any. We'll consider those minutes approved. Just quickly, wanted to just give a quick update with regards to the code of conduct. I know we had a conversation at our last meeting with regards to the role and responsibility with regards to the code of conduct. I know that we had a discussion with regards to parts of the procedure that establishes audit committees with regards to the code of conduct, and there's some interpretation with regards to that code of conduct in relationship. Is it talking about the code of conduct that we deal with at the board of directors, or is it a code of conduct in the sense of being able to discuss code of conduct in a financial basis? I know that we had Patrick with us. Just want to be able to update you that I've also elevated this to the Ontario Public School Boards Association as well, because in order to be able to have further interpretation with regards to that, especially in light of that the Minister of Education is looking at updating the Code of Conduct. We're in the process, and many other boards are doing an update to the Code of Conduct because there needs to be some clarification on exactly what that Code of Conduct meant when the procedure was written up. So we are continuing to be able to look at that in order to be able to make sure that we rationalize and understand what the responsibilities are. So any questions on that one? That was just
Michael, when are we getting something on that? Did they indicate a date?
Well, as you know, Paul, we had the discussion with Patrick, for this board. I'm assuming you're talking about a broader perspective.
Well, I'm talking about when the minister is going to change the Education Act as to the code of conduct, because we might as well hold ours off until that is done.
Well, the minister has, as you know, has been doing surveys. It has been sent out by OPSPA, and I believe Patrice has sent it out as well. So they are looking at being able to come up with a context of a new code of conduct, Trustee Crawford. But I would say it's all going to depend upon whether or not they want to be able to get that complete before the provincial election. And I know we're dealing with this on the policy committee. For OPSPA, I sit on that committee as well. So I couldn't give you an exact date, Trustee Crawford, but I know it's in consideration with the Minister of Education and the Deputy Minister. That survey is now closed. They're putting the pieces together to determine, I think, a strategy and a document that say where they want to be able to go with the code. So
I guess we'll decide governance then.
Yes, yeah. Okay, next I'm going to ask David Wright to be able to talk to about the Audit Committee external members of term of appointment found on pages 4 through 13. David?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Ontario Regulation 361.10 sets out the composition of audit committees for school boards and also includes the term of appointment for audit committee members. So there are 2 members external to the school board on the audit committee. And the regulation highlights that these members can serve up to 2 consecutive 3-year terms before the position is posted. One of the audit committee members, one of our external audit committee members, Carla Mansfield, first joined the audit committee in 2018. And last year, her term of appointment was extended by 1 year in order to create some overlap in between external member terms, instead of having concurrent terms expiring at the same time on an ongoing basis. So Carla's term is due to expire in February 2022, and due to the timeline associated with advertising, recruiting a new audit committee member, we wanted to bring the report to you this evening to highlight the timeline, which is included in section 4.2 of your report. The regulation is appended to this report for your information. And if anyone has any questions for you, Mr. Chair, happy to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you, David. And so I'm assuming then, David, as part of that action is to be able to go forward. I'm just trying to find the potentially go forward with posting for an external member to the audit committee.
That is correct. Yes, we will be moving forward. Carla has indicated her interest if we are unable to secure an acceptable candidate in returning to the audit committee, but felt it was fair to provide the opportunity to somebody else to participate.
Okay. So are we potentially looking for a motion to be able to move forward, or a consensus, David, just to be able to go forward with being able to post as per procedure, because the term expires in February 2022 anyway. So
really just for information this evening, the term is expiring, and so just information to highlight what the process for advertising and recruiting will be.
Okay, the next time that we meet is going to be, just remind me, I'm wondering whether or not, do we need to take action on it tonight? Or?
Yeah, so I don't think we're asking for a recommendation this evening, Mr. Chair. We will begin the process before the end of this month. The next time we meet will likely be in March, so it will be after the expiration of Carla's term. Hopefully we'll have her back to say thanks, as she has participated for a number of years.
Right.
But we will need to take action before the next meeting, and so there is a process in place for interviewing candidates that will take place before the next audit committee meeting. Okay,
good. I just wanted to confirm that we were moving forward, David, so I appreciate the clarification. Are there any questions for David on this, on being able to move forward? Okay, seeing none, thank you, David. And we're going to roll right into your 40 pages, David, on the 2020-2021 financial report. starting on page 14. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my great pleasure to welcome and introduce Melissa Durward, who's one of our senior managers of finance, who's going to be presenting the report to the committee this evening.
okay, thank you. And thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And through you, Chair. The report this evening can be found starting on page 14 of the package. The first part of the report lays out the financial process that carries on over a fiscal year and includes some of the key roles of some of the committees or persons involved in the process. In section 4, we talk about the results of the 2020-2021 year. We ended the year with $441 million in financial assets, $1 billion in financial liabilities, $1 billion in non-financial assets. In terms of revenues and expenses, $902 million revenues, $869 million in expenses, resulting in a 3% surplus for the year. And I would draw your attention to some of the notes to the financial statements, specifically note 8, which details the retirement and other employee feature benefit liabilities. Note 9 is the debt note, and then the tangible capital assets note in note 13. And I would also say we'll go into some further detail on the statements in the closed session this evening. Attached as Appendix A are the financial statements as audited by KPMG. And included in tonight's report is a recommendation to board of the financial statements.
Thank you, Melissa. Are there any questions with regards to the financial statements? I know that there's going to be an opportunity in closed session as well on being able to ask any questions or clarifications. I know I have a few, but I'll wait for the closed session for that. Trustee Stone, go ahead.
Thank you through your chair. Just 4.1.1, could you just give me a couple of examples of what non-financial assets would include?
Certainly, and through you, Chair. Non-financial assets include things like prepaid expenses and tangible capital assets.
And tangible capital assets are land and, okay, thank you.
Any further questions? I do have one question, I think, Melissa, that I will probably just ask here on note 8 with regards to, on page 18, the sick leave top-up benefits. Understanding that there's a maximum of 11 unused sick day leaves in the current year can be carried forward. I would assume that we would be tracking unused sick days as a potential liability as it moves forward into the next year. So I'm assuming we would track through human resources the number of days that would come forward. And then would we then look at what potential carryover costs that would be potentially into, let's say, the next fiscal year? Is that what we're looking and calculating that as well?
Correct. That is submitted by the HR department to our actuary and built into the actuarial liabilities at year end.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Any questions?
I just have one more, Michael.
Go ahead, Trustee Stone.
Thank you, through your chair. Just a brief description of what write-down means. It's on page 50, tangible capital assets, and then it has B, write-down.
Sure, and through you, Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
We could run into a situation during the year where one of our buildings, for instance, experiences damage due to a multitude of things, in which case we determine that The remaining service life of the building is no longer at its calculated value. So the remaining service life typically goes down by 1 year each year. However, when we do major improvements, then we adjust the remaining service life as the building will last longer. We could also conversely have a situation where the building is not expected to last as many years as it originally anticipated due to some kind of an event, and we would write down then the value of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stone. And I actually had another question as well, as I'm flipping through my notes. Note 10, temporary borrowing on page 21. It talks about the obviously the $95,000 line of credit available. It said that we had borrowed, the amount drawn was $39 million in 2021 as of the 31st of August. I'm just wondering, for an organization that gets all their funding from the government, is it because of a timing element of when the province provides the funds, that we end up having to be able to actually touch a credit line in order to, because obviously we want to continue to pay salaries and all those other things that are important. Is that where that comes from? It's really a timing of the dollars that come from the ministry?
Chair Barrett, sorry, can I just interrupt for a sec? You said page 21 and I can't find it on 21.
Oh, sorry. It's 21 of the report. It's page 46 of the large report. Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
So it's twofold. We have temporary borrowing in place each month for two items, one being the EDC deficit, and then the second one being exactly what you're speaking to. So it's capital expenditures for things like new construction as well as major projects, for which we're reimbursed twice a year by the ministry based on reporting twice to the ministry, twice a year our expenditures. They reimburse us. In both cases, we do get reimbursed for the interest. In the case of the EDC deficit, the interest is added to the deficit. And in the case of the ministry-funded programs, we are reimbursed any of the external borrowing costs as well.
Okay, good. That was going to be my next question. So you anticipated that one. So thank you for that, Melissa. So any further questions? Because there is a recommendation found on page 17 on 7.0. The Audit Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the 2021 financial report of the Durham School Board, including transfers to and from internally restricted funds, be approved as presented. So we are looking for a motion to make that recommendation that would then come to the November Board of Trustees meeting. So is anyone wanting to be able to make that motion as found on page 17? Trustee Stone? Do I have a seconder for that? Trustee Crawford, could I get you to second? Or Olafunke, could I get you to second that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll put forward that recommendation, David, for the November board meeting as well. So I don't believe there's any other business that has come before. I believe that other report that you're talking about, David, was an in-camera report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You were very correct. I spoke too soon. Thank you.
But that's okay. We're working through this together, David. It's all good. So not seeing any other business, and since this board has concluded, or this audit committee has concluded all the agenda set before us, I'll declare that this meeting is adjourned. And please note the next meeting, and it's right there, David, when I asked you for it, is March 23rd, 2022. So I appreciate that, and we'll consider this meeting concluded.